It's strange, you know, having to do it. After using this same microphone for even since before I started this channel and just replace it. So many memories I've had with this thing. All the way back from the beginning. But your time is up, old friend. It's time for us to say goodbye. Boom, baby.
I wanted to say over the past couple years, the 3DS has become one of my absolute favorite consoles. The assets the system has, like the now standard dual screens, 3-dimensional sense of depth, gyroscopic controls, a great interface, stuff like Street Pass, Spot Pass, Miiverse, Nintendo eShop with retro and indie games, as well as digital downloads of cartridge games, and now with the new 3DS, Amiibo support, bigger screens and faster processing, as well as more data, it's a marvel of design. And one last thing, it's portable! But what good is hardware without games to go with it? While it did lag for a good while upon its initial release, it could not be further from that now. The sheer amount of amazing new games and even amazing remakes that have come out on this thing is actually kind of astounding. And since a lot of my favorite games for the past 2 years have been on this console, I figured to give some of them the attention they deserve. Now, these are not the best 3DS games, merely my favorite. Mainly because this is just my opinion and I haven't played every 3DS game ever released. So, for safety, games like Bravely Default, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, Fire Emblem Awakening, Tomodachi Life, or any of the Professor Layton or Phoenix Wright games will not be on the list since I haven't played them. Also, I want this to be with new games in the system, so no remakes are allowed, which unfortunately excludes some of my favorite games such as Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask 3D, Star Fox 64 3D, Rayman 3D, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and the one that pains me the most, Xenoblade Chronicles 3D. Shit, this has been a long intro, let's get right into it! A game I've talked about before, and the staple Mario platformer of the console, Super Mario 3D Land. Despite it now being overwhelmingly inferior to the newer Super Mario 3D World, I can't help but have a little love for this little guy. I mean, it's your traditional Mario jumping around on blocks cliche, in 3D and on a handheld. Not much can go wrong there. This format works excellently on a handheld console, giving the player short bursts of fun action that fits perfectly well on the go, but gives enough enjoyment to make them want to come back and play more. Kinda like a mobile game like Candy Crush, but less manipulative and more respectable. The vibrant colors complement the visual aesthetic incredibly well, and while I admit the soundtrack isn't spectacular, there are some great tracks sprinkled in there as well. The major aspect I'd say about this game is that it's just fun. It really doesn't try to be bigger than it is, it frankly doesn't do much to innovate or reach new ground in the Mario series, it just focuses on just providing a fun and likable experience. And I have to give it full marks in that department. I mean, Tanuki floating, propeller block flying, boomerang flower tossing, it's just trying to be fun! Finally, I've said it once, and I'll say it again. That final Bowser battle is utterly fantastic. The fast pace, the intensity, and the overall rhythm this battle has is fantastic. In short, Super Mario 3D Land isn't the best Mario game ever. Hell, it's not even my favorite Mario-based game on the system, but it's a good lot of fun. Give it a try. I never said eShop games were off the table, did I? Shovel Knight may be on Wii U, Steam, PS4 and Xbox One, but it's on 3DS too, so deal with it. While I will admit that these style of 80s and 90s platformers were not really that big a part of my childhood, so the nostalgia-gasm that a lot of people got was lost on me, that didn't stop me thinking that this game is freaking awesome! This little indie game that received so much support from fans of retro games managed to capture precisely what made classic games like Mega Man and Castlevania such beloved games and translate it beautifully into a new fresh IP that already has such a huge fan following in just over a year! Despite its highly retro roots, it manages to actively have its own identity, being a unique and incredibly enjoyable 2D platformer that must be played to truly understand. Every single stage in this game is well constructed, with each having unique enemies, locations, hazards, as well as a signature item and boss to go with it, so there's something absolutely lovable and fresh about every single level. The aesthetics are colourful and amazing to look at, and if I may point out my favourite part of this game, its soundtrack. Composed in pretty much its entirety by one composer, Jake Kaufman, it captures the bounciness and style of tracks from the NES era and brings it right back with some great epic tracks that are too numerous to bother listing. What else can I say about Shovel Knight? It's an awesome indie retro platformer that's on pretty much every single console out right now, so get on that shit! And if I'm allowed to make one last comment, Sakurai, Shovel Knight for Smash DLC! So many people want it, so make it happen! Yacht Club Games want him in too, nothing but support! But I understand if he doesn't get in. Let's move on. Nintendo hyped the crap out of the Year of Luigi 2 years ago, and while the big console game was pretty the more creative ones were the best. Especially seeing the game Luigi was the main character of get a nifty new sequel after only, 12 years? Better late than never, I guess. Luigis Mansion 2, PAL version name of Dark Moon, was a game that I was pretty hyped for, and it didn't disappoint. Like the first Luigi's Mansion, what makes this game so great is its atmosphere. The game's not really scary or anything, but it does manage to capture that particular mood associated with the medium. The overall darkness and use of shadows, the low and accenting score that mixes in environmental sounds dependent on locations, as well as the extended use of sound and lack of sound, does manage to make a remarkably eerie feel to it. But that feel is mixed in with a crap ton of silliness and overall Luigi-ness, so it's certainly unique in that regard. While I was initially disappointed that the structure of the game is now split into levels instead of free exploration and progression, and that there were no portrait ghosts to capture, I pretty much got over it pretty damn quickly. The levels are still heavily built around exploring the mansions to find your objectives, and tons of puzzle solving and thinking heavy level design that I loved about the first Luigi's Mansion. Although I am a little admit there weren't really that many enemies that were truly unique like the portrait ghosts, except for the possessor ghosts at the end of each mansion, where some are awesome and cool, and some are just a glorified enemy gauntlet and stairs. Just stairs. But all in all, Luigi's Mansion 2 is an awesome game that's a fitting sequel to a great, unique game. And one last thing, that EGAD ringtone, my actual ringtone.
See? It's awesome, trust me on that. Hello?
Collab sometime?
Cool.
This will probably be a little surprising for a lot of you, but I really am putting it this low. The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. The only Zelda game I haven't talked about in the slightest, and one that has amassed a great deal of popularity by retro fans and newer fans. I personally think it's a good game, but far from my favorite of the series. I actually have a lot of things I really dislike about this game, so much so I consider doing a complete editorial on what I feel are its flaws. But since I'm trying to be positive here, allow me to fast forward through my gripes with it. Rarely felt anything new or exciting when exploring either overworlds. Why is Lorelei referred to as a brand new place when it's literally a carbon copy of the Dark World? Renting and buying items instead of airing them rob them of value in my eyes, since getting money is really fucking easy. Doing dungeons in any order robs the game of a difficulty curve, making everything really easy later on. Very little mixing of different items to solve puzzles. Yuga is a blatant mix of Aghanim and a watered-down Girahim, making him a really shitty antagonist who robs us of Ganon's return after not being in a game for nearly 7 years, and robbed us of a potentially interesting and unique main villain in Hilda. More than I hate these aspects is that I hate that I have so many nitpicks with this game, because A Link Between Worlds has so many great elements as well. The merging mechanic leads to some very interesting dungeons and areas that require the player to develop another way of viewing their environment and figuring out ways to use it to overcome seemingly impossible obstacles. The aesthetics and the use of colours really update A Link to the Past to a modern playing field, and I enjoy exploring this Hyrule much more than I did in A Link to the Past. That accented by this game's amazing compositions, making me fall in love with the classic tracks that I originally thought were meh in 16-bit, as well as great new compositions. And despite everything I feel is wrong with this game, it's definitely a worthy Zelda exclusive for the 3DS simply due to the undeniable Zelda energy, Zelda feel, and Zelda experience. Maybe I'll talk more about this game at a later time, but for now, A Link Between Worlds is a fantastic game that unfortunately has a number of elements that rub me the wrong way. Still a great game though. Following on this trend, I've started with A Link Between Worlds. Believe me, when X and Y came out, I was just as hyped as everyone else. Got Y release date and smashed through it in less than a week, literally giving up sleep to keep playing it. And I thought it was so good and just an amazing entry in the Pokemon series. But when I came back to replay it after my hype had died down, wasn't as good as I remembered it. It's an awesome game, don't get me wrong. The 3D rendered region looks absolutely amazing, most of the new Pokemon introduced are pretty damn sweet, I actually really like Mega Evolutions, the soundtrack has some absolute gems in it, and the fairy types add a lot to the series and change it into a bit more of a balanced playing field. Definitely a game you want for the system and definitely a system seller. However, looking back on it, there are quite a lot of problems with it. The game's overall pretty short and pretty easy. The villainous team are nothing special, there's so much fan service for Gen 1s that it's almost suffocating, very few of the characters stick out to me, and of course, the game's very linear. I know, Black and White was linear as well, but it had a magnificently deep and engaging story to provide the essential motivation and reasoning for the linearity. X and Y on the other hand has a very flat storyline. Maybe not the flattest of the series, but after the standard Gen 5 set, I was expecting more. Despite all this, X and Y is far from the worst games in the series, and it was in fact the Pokemon games that got me into EV training and the whole metagame of the Pokemon series. And I do have a ton of great memories experiencing this game with so many of my friends who really got into or back into Pokemon with this game. But ORAS are the definitely better Pokemon games in the 3DS, so play them instead. Let's get cutesy up in here! Kirby Triple Deluxe is such an awesome and fun as hell game. I can honestly say I marathoned this entire game's main story and getting every single Sunstone in a day. I was enjoying myself so much. I mean, even from this title screen and the intro cutscene to this game, take all my monies now! But the game doesn't really do much to push the Kirby series to new grounds like Adventure Wii. It does the Kirby formula of jumping on platforms, inhaling and copying enemies, collecting stuff and battling bosses to a T, and just succeeds splendidly in all those aspects. Then again, it does add a 2.5D multiple layers to stages which can be transitioned between, which is pretty cool. Implement the use of gyroscopic controls to solve puzzles, adds 4 new copy abilities with my favourites of the new ones being Beetle and Archer, and of course the Hypernova, which is kind of like the super copy abilities, but for Kirby's suction ability, which is a little... It's a little cool. On top of a main story that has great levels, fantastic music, so much fun to be had, which is concluded by one of the best final bosses in Kirby history, you have a Kirby fighting game which you can play with your friends or solo, a rhythm game with DDD bouncing on drums, a DDD tour for my fun times, and of course the now staple 2 arenas to really test your skills. Also, for you completionists out there are collectible keychains to collect for 100% completion. 36 rare keychains hidden in levels, and 220 keychains that are given out at complete random. But you know what? Keychain Master! This is probably my favorite platformer on the entire 3DS. It may not be super revolutionary or expansive to the Kirby series, but god damn it, it's full of so much cutesy fun that I can't help loving it. Probably my second favorite Kirby game now. Think of that what you will. Animal Crossing New Leaf. I really don't know how to describe this game to you guys. It's incredibly difficult to narrow down what I really like about this game into discernible assets or words to encourage you to play this game. New Leaf is a game where you be mayor of a small town, talk to your villagers, be friends with them, wander around your town collecting stuff to sell or decorate your house, building stuff for your town that doesn't really affect the gameplay, buy stuff, collect stuff for your museum, and just pretty much wander around the same places day after day. When I put it like that, it probably doesn't sound that appealing compared to something like Zelda or Pokemon, but New Leaf is more of an experience game more than a mechanics or gameplay based game. You become friends with your villagers and grow to really love them. Finding the right furniture you want to decorate your house is rewarding and personally satisfying. Helping out the town with a request feels good, and just making your town awesome on your own accord is enjoyable, and walking around your town at different times of the day is just calming. Playing New Leaf isn't exactly exciting or invigorating, but what carries it through is its charm, its calm and relaxing nature, and really just the fact that every single cartridge is its own town, with its own villagers, own geography, own public works projects, own decorations, and most importantly, its own stories that every player has. Really, last year in the lead up to my final exams of high school, I played New Leaf every single day as breaks for my studying and exams, simply due to how calming and childishly happy it made me to simply hang around the island catching bugs and fishing. Animal Crossing New Leaf is a game that I find incredibly easy to recommend, but incredibly difficult to explain why I like it. It's one of those games that you really have to play for yourself to understand why it's great. Nothing can really do this game justice except for one's own experiences and stories with it. That's about all I can say about it before I start rambling even more than I already have. Leave it at that. Paper Mario Sticker Star was such a huge disappointment for me, especially when I actually got it Christmas morning and was genuinely excited. Not only is this game the only game I actually removed from my top 100 favorite games after realizing how much I disliked it, but it actually made me terrified that the Mario and Luigi game coming out for the 3DS was going to suck too. Thank you, Alpha Dream! My absolute favorite Mario game on the 3DS, Mario and Luigi Dream Team Bros. Cal title again. I was so terrified that this game was going to suck, even more so considering I got it on my birthday, that when I played it I was like, order in the universe has been restored! From my perspective as a Mario and Luigi fan, this game does every single thing right. The presentation is fantastic, the story is broad enough to warrant a more than 30-hour RPG, but it's still chock full of Mario kookiness and comedy. The difficulty and progression, while a little skewed at times, is just right for beginners and veterans of the Mario and Luigi series. Battling feels awesome, going through areas feels awesome, the music, this soundtrack is one of my favorites of all time and just, it's so good! The Dream World mechanic, while comparable to the insides of Bowser's system from Inside Story, with there being two overworlds simultaneously, is so much better than its predecessor. The amazing color schemes and ethereal feel everything has creates such a great environment and world to explore, especially with the power of the Luigi noise to do stupidly awesome things in the overworld and absurd and crazy attacks in the battlefield. And one of my favorite aspects in this game, the giant Luigi battles. The giant Bowser battles from Inside Story were cool and all, but this blows them right out of the freaking water. The greater quality 3D animation, the overall more fluid and flowing feel the fights have, the greater variety of moves and strategy for taking down the bosses, and the most important thing for me, the music. Size up your enemy. This theme has become one of my favorite Mario themes of all time, and is pretty much my favorite theme from this soundtrack. In short, this game is absolutely freaking awesome. In my eyes, this trumps Bowser's Inside Story, and I am so torn over whether this or Superstar Saga is my favorite Mario spin-off. Either way, this game is so worth the price of purchase. Absolutely incredible. Like X and Y, this is an obvious choice for the list, and there is no denying it. Super Smash Bros. For 3DS. Sure, it's nowhere near as good as Smash for Wii U, but I've put in way more time into the 3DS version than I have the Wii U one, despite that for two reasons. First, it came out a couple months before the Wii U version, and of course, it's portable Smash Brothers. It's incredibly easy when I'm like on the train to university or waiting for a lecturer to show up for class or just out of boredom somewhere to pick it up and play a little Smash. Not sure what can really be said for it, it's goddamn Smash Brothers! Since in general every character has been made faster and has better recovery than in Brawl, fights are so much faster and can last so much longer, really making some incredibly tense and action-packed matches. And as of now at least, all of the 15 new characters added so far are all interesting and legitimately fun to play as, with a lot of my now best characters being new additions to the Smash roster. It obviously has great new stages and returns of old favourites, fantastic mix of music from all the franchises represented in Smash and more, fighter customization including making your own Mii fighter with a moveset and stats built from scratch, Smash Run which is stupid to have instead of a story mode, and access to DLC which will release new costumes and even new fighters as time passes. Don't know why explaining this is necessary. Who doesn't play Smash? It's an amazing and unique fighting game with all your favorite Nintendo characters like Mario, Samus, the Duck Hunt Dog, and Dark Pit. This is certainly the inferior version of Smash 4, but its portability makes up for that so much. It's mainly because of this version that I feel that I've gotten significantly better at Smash. Mainly because I can practice and train pretty much anywhere I feel like it. I'm no tournament ranked master, don't get me wrong, but I am more than competent on the battlefield. And now to not give up my Miiverse name so I don't get challenged and proven that I actually suck at this game. Backing down before the fight's even started. The truest of victories. Yeah, my favorite 3DS game hasn't changed. Time for a repeat of number 10 of my top 10 favorite games. I still love Kid Icarus Uprising. And since I've already done pretty much a 1,000 word essay equaling a 5-minute long entry exclusively on it in the finale of my top 100 favorite games, I'll be briefer than that. It takes true talent to take an 8-bit platforming series of games that was dead for more than 20 years and bring it back as a half on-rail shooter and half third-person action stage game, and make it work! Sure, if you're left-handed, the control scheme is a little, if not very user-hostile, and the control scheme itself can be a little uncomfortable, but I personally had zero problems with it, the feel of everything being smooth and accurate to everything I was inputting. In terms of actual gameplay, Uprising is utterly packed with content. Like I said before, every level is split between an on-rails shooting stage and a third-person action stage, as well as a boss fight thrown in for good measure. There's something enjoyable in every single goddamn level in this game, and they managed to pack so much action, jaw-dropping eye candy, and so much fantastic music as well that it's impossible to not have a great time soaring through these stages. On top of that, with a system of 9 different weapon classes, each having their own distinct traits, with each class having a collection of varying types of weapons, with even further individual traits, and your own power palette which you construct with all the power-ups and abilities that you feel suit you best in the levels, you can construct the perfect build for you, making levels even more amazing to play through from how smooth and comfortable everything becomes with your build. Me personally, Claws Nation, baby. But the real crux of what makes this game so amazing is the characters and the interactions they have with each other. Every minute of the game is full of witty and well-written dialogue that fleshes out the characteristics and likable elements of every single character, and I am incredibly hard-pressed to find a favorite character. Wait a second, that's easy.
Spoiler alert! Morning, do-gooders! But now that I'm here, let's get this party started!
Ooh, he's so cool! Pretty much, get this game. If you hadn't had a chance to play this game yet, you are seriously missing out on one of the finest games I've ever played in my life. I'm the Speedster, and I wish for the day where I can get a 3DS capture card so I can make more videos on both 3DS and regular DS games without having to resort to grabbing footage from all over the place. One can dream, though. You know what it's time for? It's user involvement time! Yay! I'd like some new fresh ideas for countdowns I can make, so what I'm asking you to do, yes, you, the one this finger is pointing at, the person currently watching this video, to scroll down to the comments section and post an idea or 2 or 3 or how many you want for a countdown. I will look through the comments section and pick out the ideas I like, then make a straw poll over on my Twitter so you guys can vote on which of the choices you are most eager to see. I will endeavour to make all the countdown ideas I like, but your votes will decide the order in which I will make them. Until then, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.